welcome to the Marina Skua podcast. My name's Marina, I'm a knitwear designer and dyer based in the southwest of England, and I'm going to talk about my projects. I feel like I've got quite a few things to show you today. I'm having lots of fun with everything that I'm making. So yes, I shall start off with what I'm wearing. So this big orange thing is my amber apple cardigan. There are herringbone details on the cuffs and shoulders, which I really like, and they provide a bit of strength to those areas where you've got quite a lot of fabric gathered into them. And yeah, this one I can still just about do up, but today I am not. So we've got quite big balloony sleeves. And I really like this one. I wear it a lot more than you might expect, given just the epic sleeve drama. But I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's just very cozy. The yarn is Rowan Pebble Island in the colour, I want to say it's macaroni. If that's not true, I shall correct that in the description below. And so it's pure Falklands merino. It's a heavy DK, sort of worsted weight. It's not my favourite yarn. It is a nice non-superwash wool, but it's pure merino and it pills like nothing on earth, and it's a worsted spun yarn. I find that woolen spun yarns, when they pill, it's kind of less of a big deal because the yarn is already a bit fuzzy looking, whereas a yarn like this that's quite crisp looking, when it starts pilling it looks a bit messy, and that's not what I want. But anyhow, I still wear this one a lot and I just have to de-bobble it quite frequently, which I haven't done recently, and it's definitely overdue. But yes, pattern for this one is available on my website on Ravelry. And the same goes for this one, which is one that I much prefer the yarn. This is the Tree Hay Tank. It's in yarn from Gutchpool Farm, which is very local to me. This is part of my West Country collection, which I released last year, and I recently released all of the individual patterns from the collection. They all use undyed local yarn that's from small farms here in the West Country, in the southwest of England. And I'll just show you here. The neckband and armbands are slightly wider at the top of the shoulder and the back of the neck. If I just move my collar out the way, you can sort of see that a little bit. That's just a little optional detail, so in the pattern you can choose to do that shaping or you can just leave them straight. And there's a little slit at the hem, which is a feature I'm really enjoying in the knits of mine that have it at the moment, because it works as an expansion gap to accommodate the ever-increasing belly. And again, the split hem is optional, so there are instructions in the pattern for both split hem and just worked standard in the round. And yet details for those ones will be in the description box below. One thing with this cardigan is that I've put nice sort of antique brass buttons on it, and they do clang together quite a lot, and occasionally I'm alarmed by the metallic noises around me and realise it's just my buttons hitting things. So if you hear that against the chair, sorry. So yes. Yes, I'm enjoying the knits that I can still wear, and honestly this tank, I'm slightly surprised that it still fits. It's at the point where maybe in a few weeks the colour work over the lower section will be stretched out enough that it won't look nice anymore, and so I'll have to stop wearing it at that point. But I'm still really enjoying it now. So yes, those are the things I'm wearing. Further on the knitting front, I'll show you what I'm knitting on at the moment, and then a couple of finished designs which I'm excited about, and then we'll get on to yarny stuff and then spinning stuff. So yes, what I am working on... Oh, before I forget, I am still working on my pediment jumper, which I showed in the last episode. Thank you so much for all of your suggestions. I thought I was going to use it as a kind of see what people's responses are, to see how I feel about those responses, in terms of I have now run out of yarn, because I carried on with the sleeves for a bit. I was running out of yarn and presented some options for how I should proceed, and was expecting to just sort of gauge people's responses and how that made me feel about what I could do. Wasn't expecting a completely different response, which was to do sweater surgery, cut out a section of the body where I had knitted it a bit long, and rather than frogging it, cut that out and then salvage the yarn to use for the rest of the sleeves. And that's absolutely what I'm going to do. I'm just at the point where I'm steeling myself to do it, because I've never actually done sweater surgery before. I think it's why it didn't occur to me as an option. But now that it has been mentioned first by a couple of my patrons and then by lots of you on YouTube, it's the obvious thing to do. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm plugging away at another project, and I might do that once I've finished this one. So this one, I believe I mentioned last time as I'm about to cast this on, and it might keep me distracted while I'm trying to decide what to do with the other project. So this is, if we can get through this without me losing any stitches, we're doing incredibly, because something about the combination of this yarn and needles just makes them want to jump off the end. And a sensible person would use needle stoppers, and I never do. So this is going to be a scrumper cardigan. And I am loving how this fabric is, not a scrumper cardigan, sorry, a waistcoat. There is a cardigan version. This one's going to be a waistcoat. I do not have enough yarn for the cardigan version. Otherwise, I definitely would do that. I'm loving how this fabric is turning out. The yarn is long wool blend from Black Isle Yarns. It's naturally dyed one in a colour called ginger. It is no longer available, and I believe that Julie is going to be closing Black Isle Yarns at some point. But she does beautiful things, both with naturally coloured undyed yarn and also natural dyes. And this colour is just so warm and cosy. I'm particularly enjoying all my shades of goldy orange at the moment. This bag's from Harriet, Wildwood Stitches, from a previous collab we've done, and I enjoy that this is still fitting in. In fact, I say it's still fitting in there. It's going to fit in there until I finished it, because I've got all of the yarn for the project in there now. So I've also got a teeny ball here because I'm in the middle of alternating rows as I switch between skeins, which I don't think is completely necessary for this yarn. The colour seems really consistent, but force of habit. And so yeah, I'm loving how this fabric's turning out. It's got this kind of not proper boucle but slightly textured thing going on, which is really enjoyable, and I like how it's turning out with the moss stitch panel at the side. I'm not expecting loads of definition on the cables. It's not a yarn I would have chosen for a project with more cables, and especially as I'm knitting it at a slightly loose gauge, because I am anticipating that when I block it, it will floof up a bit. But it's quite a sleek but also textured yarn. And so it's not the best for showing off the cables, but considering the cables are a fairly minor detail, they're kind of more of a textural thing in this design. Like going purely for stitch definition isn't essential. So yes, thoroughly enjoying this one. I have just got to the end of the body before it's worked bottom up. So I've got to the end of the body before I split for the fronts and back and the V-neck. So I'll start the V-neck shaping and the armhole shaping. And I have been comparing it against this one, which is a pre-existing one, also in plant dyed yarn. This one I dyed with woad seeds. I've been wearing this one a lot. I made this one in a smaller size, so I made this one in the smallest size in the pattern. And again, it's getting to the point where doing up the bottom buttons is a bit of a challenge now, and the buttons are getting a bit gappy, so I can still wear it open. And I want a similar length to this one, but a little bit more room. Which will hopefully mean that I will still be able to close the buttons, and it'll just be a slightly more relaxed fit. And so at the moment, the body on this one, like where I've got my final buttonhole, is slightly shorter than this, but I'm going to be doing slightly deeper armholes, and so the overall length will be the same, or similar enough for it to make no difference. So yeah, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just, for me, it's a nice mindless knit because the moss stitch and cables and everything are quite intuitive to me. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to this. I think it took me a while to kind of muster up the energy to wind this ball of yarn because the skein was very long. It's too long for my Swift. And so last night I did get my husband to act as a Swift for me while I wound it up. And so that one I'm expecting to progress quite quickly now because I will have fewer and fewer stitches with each subsequent row, which is nice. So yes, I've been working on that one fairly monogamously, and we will see. I might manage the sweater surgery on the other one before I finish this, or I might use finishing that as impetus to then do the sweater surgery. I'm pointing over there because it's over there in the naughty corner. And so with my knitting, I am working rather more monogamously than I usually do. I still have a couple of other projects on the needles, which I will get to, I'm sure. But I think I've got so many other projects with other crafts going on that I'm trying to sort of keep a bit of focus, and then I'm using finishing something, some kind of project, as permission to then start another thing, because I'm at the stage where I just want to start new things all the time, and I know that if I allow myself to do that, I will get overwhelmed. So by kind of controlling the number of things I allow myself to take on, it becomes a bit more manageable. I don't know if I can't be the only person who does that. Like you get lots of people talking about whether you're a monogamous knitter or whether you have loads and loads of works in progress, but not much discussion about how you actually decide when it's time to cast on a new thing, and how, if you are someone who likes the excitement of starting new projects, not just casting on with knitting, but with spinning and weaving and dyeing and fibre prep and the possibly excessive things I try to get done, like how you manage those to not become overwhelming. And it's nice because I'm not starting new designs at the moment. I've got lots of designs coming up, which I'll talk about in a second, but they are things that are finished already. or very close to being finished, because I now do not have time to get things finished and published before I go on maternity leave. I'm going to be going on maternity leave mid-December. Again, I need to do a big old post about what is going to be happening while I'm on leave. I am intending to take the majority of next year off. I'm planning on coming back to work in autumn, date TBC, but I will be keeping the shop open, and orders will just be posted sporadically, like probably every couple of weeks or less frequently than that. But you will still be able to buy stuff. And I will still be posting over on Patreon occasionally, less frequently than I currently do, but I will still be maintaining a bit of a presence there. So if you want to keep in touch with me while I am not working properly, then that is probably a good place to go. So yes, designs. Let's do these first. So these are, I need to make sure I get them on the right hands, the tortillas mitts. They are super cute. They were originally published in 52 Weeks of Accessories by Liner, and the rights have been back with me for quite a long time, and I haven't got round to publishing them myself previously, but finally I've got my act together and they are now out. So you can buy them as an individual pattern on my website on Ravelry. They use my Mendip DK yarn. This colour is Beach in the sun, on the sunny base, and I just really enjoy them. So the backs of the hands have a twisty detail, which is just really fun, and I like how that intersects with the thumb increases. And then the palm of the hand, the ribbing just goes straight up to the decreases here, and there's something I really enjoy about the little point on the ends. It just feels kind of a bit elfin and cute. And they're just a really fun knit. If you like ribbing with interest, they don't take very long. They're available in 3 sizes, so this is the second size, and the smallest size, they're all sort of intended for adults of varying sized hands. So the smallest size would probably be a teen, or if you have fairly small hands, and then the largest size would be if you have larger hands. I tend to make the middle size because I have reasonably average sized hands, slightly longer fingers, golem hands. But yes, and so the smallest size takes 1 skein of yarn, which is nice, and then the larger sizes take 2, and then you will have probably enough yarn left over from the second skein that you could use it as a contrast colour in a hat or something, which would be lovely. So yes, that's those. They're called tortillas, and they are on my website and Ravelry, and if you are on Patreon, then you will already have heard about them, and if you are in the Fox tier, you will have already got your free copy, because patrons in that tier get free copies of new releases while they are a patron. And if anyone joins in the next couple of days, then send me a message and I'll send you a copy if you join at that tier, because you don't want to miss out. But that's, the next couple of days after this goes live. And there is an introductory discount, 20% off all of my patterns on my website and Ravelry using the code HelloTortillas. Again, that will run until next week. I'll put the details down below. And yeah, I hope you like them. Then in upcoming designs, I do have quite a few things that the rights have come back to me on, and I am going to be publishing those in the next few weeks. So there will be a spate of new patterns coming out. New or things that have been previously published in publications and not available on their own. But this one is a completely new original design. I say new, I started it 2.5 years ago, but we're finally there. I have talked about this one before. It has taken me a little bit longer to get through getting the pattern all finalized and tech edited. We're almost there with the tech editing. I wore this one to Unravel Autumn a couple of months ago, and it was very nice to see people's responses to it there. And it's just really fun. I haven't come up with a name with it yet. No. I should be able to tell you what it's called. If you have any thoughts on what this might be called, do let me know in the comments, because I would love to hear your ideas. So it's a saddle shoulder. It is a fingering weight. The yarn is Rauma Finnel. So it's 175 meters per 50 grams. It's a fairly classic, it's a Norwegian wool, but it's what I consider to be a fairly classic, Shetland style yarn. So it's a slightly loosely 2-plied woolen spun yarn, which is really good for colour work, but also for quite warm and lightweight garments. It's a very similar spec to my Mendip 4-ply, so you could substitute that as well. And yeah, so we've got the saddle shoulders with moss stitch details, and then it goes into these twisty bits and some cables down the forearm. So yes, I'll show in more detail after it is released, and please do let me know if you have any thoughts on what I could call it. So yeah, that one has taken far too long. It got put on the back burner many times because there were other things I was working on that were more important in terms of deadlines and things. And then getting it tech edited, I had a couple of shows to prepare for this autumn, and my energy has been lower than it usually is. So I'm having to take a bit more rest than I usually do. And I'm struggling to account for that, to actually plan my days in a way that accommodates being able to do a bit less. So then on the yarny front, if you saw my last video, this won't be news to you. I've got a box full of dark brown stuff. So this is my Svartbliss yarn. This is a limited edition batch of yarn from a very local small holding. If you want to hear more about this yarn and see me working up some swatches in it, which are in this box, and my thoughts on how I swatch to get to know a new yarn, and a bit of hand spinning as well. Because there was spinning fibre. This is the very last of it. My patrons bought it all pretty much immediately. It was slightly alarming. I was expecting the fibre to... I don't know why people like fibre. It's not that I don't know why they don't like fibre, but I don't know why I was expecting the fibre to hang around a bit longer than it did. But it all went. So yes, so I still have a decent bit of the yarn, not massive quantities because it was a limited edition batch of a single clip from a small flock. So I got the fleeces of 13 sheep, Svartbliss sheep from a small holding a couple of villages away, and meticulously skirted it. And so far I've got through probably a little bit more than half of it. So what I've had prepared at the mill, it's worked up at Rampersham Mill, which is about an hour's drive away from here in Dorset. They're in Dorset, I'm not, I'm Southwest Wiltshire. And so there is more fleece for a future batch, at this rate possibly for like a 2027 thing. Because it's a lot of effort to skirt and sort out and clean up, because it wasn't intended to be used for textiles, and so the fleeces haven't been treated as you would if you were expecting to send them to a mill. I sort of rescued them a bit, and because of that I'm so surprised with just how beautifully it's turned out. I'm really, really pleased with it, and I had said that I wasn't going to be keeping any for myself, but I do have about 125 grams that are sort of skein ends that they couldn't make up into a full 100-gram skein. But I might keep a couple of the big skeins to add to that so I can make a garment. I'm really, really tempted. But we shall see, because, again, managing cast-ons is the name of the game at the moment. But again, I will put a link to that below if you are interested in some hyper-local, very low carbon footprint yarn. And on the spinning front, if you have watched the podcast regularly, you will have seen a lot of this project, and I'm delighted that it is finally finished. I'm very proud of this yarn, I really am. It's one of the things that's made me feel like I might actually be an okay spinner. I've been spinning for a very long time, but there have always been things to kind of work around with my spinning, whereas this, I've created exactly the kind of yarn I was aiming for, and quite consistently across numerous skeins. So we've got an average of 650 meters per 100 grams. We've got a total of just over 300 grams. And I love them. They're beautiful, they're quite fine. And I am going to be using these as warp for a weaving project, but I still have a weaving project in progress, which I shall be showing once there are further updates on that. If you want to hear about my weaving, please go and check previous videos. And so yes, it's basically, I have finished this yarn. This will be its final little viewing in its aesthetic basket before it then gets transferred into plastic bags to go into storage until it is ready to become a work in progress again in a different format. And so yeah, this will be warp. This will be weft. And so I'm expecting it to feel very sort of tweedy and countryside-y once it's all woven up. I'm planning on weaving it into a herringbone, and I think it's going to be lovely. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how consistently this yarn has turned out and how fine it is. A lot of the fineness is due to the fibre prep I've done on it, where I pre-drafted it into little nests, and I have done a video on how I do that, which I'll put up here somewhere. And I will actually show you the little nests that I created in that video just now, because that will probably be my next spinning project, but we shall see. So yeah, I wanted to just show you this before I put it away. The fibre is my feather blend for this green. This was a limited edition colour called Peridot. And this one is Skua blend, which is, again, a limited edition colour called Highland. I should have both of these blends, but not colours, in a shop update in the next few weeks, which will be my last big shop update before I go on leave. And so as a kind of treat for finishing that yarn, before I embark on another big spin, I did a little bit of spinning of the Zwartbles. and I used it as an opportunity to practice a bit of long draw. And I will be doing the same thing with the remaining little bit of fibre that I have here. And I've got some little end bits from the mill as well. So those will all be spun up as the same sort of yarn. I am entirely inexperienced in a woolen long draw spin, so I have been taking the opportunity to practice a little bit, and it's immensely fun. I am trying deliberately to kind of let go of my desire to control the yarn, which was very much what that pale green spin was about. It was tiny, slow, short forward draw, lots of smoothing and compressing, quite high twist. Whereas with this woolen spinning, I'm not currently aiming for consistency. I'm just aiming to have fun with it and create very nice bouncy yarn. And so after I did the Zwartbles sample, I spun up these 3 little samples, I guess, which is Shetland fleece that was sent to me by one of my lovely patrons, Marie, from her flock. And each of these colours is from a different sheep. So let me remember this. There's Jeannie, which I believe is the brown. I think it's coming across quite dark here, but it's a lovely Morit colour. And Dottie and Nicola. And I kind of, so this was mill waste that, because this was again prepared at Rampisham, which is where I had the Zwartbles spun. And I had recommended them to Marie because she was, I think, having a bit of a time preparing her fleeces for spinning, and she just wanted to get to the spinning. And so she sent me some fluff as a thank you. And so I did a bit of reorganizing of the fibre because it was in lots of little bits, because of it being sort of ends of runs and things. And I did them in the order that I expected to enjoy them, because Jeannie was the least organised in terms of fibre prep and required quite a bit of picking and refluffing. Dottie was very nice, but then Nicola was just so beautiful and cloudy and soft. And so in terms of the actual fibres, this way was my order of preference. But then actually in terms of spinning, this one was so much fun, and it's really interesting. Like, I think it's fairly classic with Shetlands that there is quite a lot of breed variety in terms of fibre quality, especially across different colours, and even on the same sheep. But although I enjoyed this fibre more to hold and feel, Dottie, the white one, was just delightful to spin. I had so much fun. So these yarns are very slubby, very messy looking, and I love them so much. I spent a bit of an afternoon and evening just spinning up these samples, and I just kept saying to my family, like, look how much fun I'm having. This is so enjoyable. After so long of very careful, repetitive, tiny spinning, to just be able to kind of go, whoop, okay, that's yarn of some sort. And the yarn itself is so bouncy and characterful and beautiful. And so I'm going to be coming up with some tiny project to use these together, and it'll be so light and soft and warm, and the fleece is beautiful. And it's fairly heavy yarn, which I haven't spun for a very long time, which is just really nice. I'm going to have no shortage of opportunities to make tiny projects over the next few months, so I may use this as an excuse to do a baby something or other. And then I just wanted to show you this as well. This is from another of Marie's sheep. She also sent me a skein of yarn, and this is beautiful. And I don't know if I'll do it, but I did have the thought that if I just wanted to keep the little endy bits of the Zwartbles, like the smaller skeins, not that. These are spun to the same spec and could combine really beautifully. And so there could be something there. And it would be quite nice to have Marie's sheep along with not my own sheep, because I don't plan to keep sheep, but super local sheep. So maybe I'll try a little swatch or something and see what happens there. And then on the spinning plans front, I have to make a decision, because I've got a big spinning project. Now this project is one I've been working on for a long time. Again, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll be familiar with this. It is plant-dyed wool fleece from Fernhill Farm, which I have prepped from the fleece, mixed with flax tow from Flaxland. And I have got all of these little nests all prepared up, and these nests are going to be either the warp or weft of a weaving project, and then the bats that are still in bat form here are going to be the opposite. Whether I do this as warp or weft, they will be weft or warp. And I think I will just I'll spin both and then at the end count up which I have more meterage of and use that as the warp, because you usually need a bit more warp meterage than weft because of warp waste and stuff. And so that is going to be another very slow spin. I can't remember how much I've got in total there. Do I have it on my... Yeah, okay. So it's 384 grams in total. So it's not nearly as much as my last big spin. So that'll be 192 grams for each warp and weft. I do keep useful notes sometimes. And so it won't be as much spinning as that project, because that took a year and a half-ish. I don't want that one to take that long, but I do know that it's going to take a long time, and I will probably be bored of it by the time I finish it. And so before I do that, I think I will finish spinning up my Zwartbles there, and I'm tempted to dig through my fleece and fibre stash, which isn't massively extensive, but there is a fair bit of stuff in there. Like there are, I don't know if I have any whole fleeces now, but I've definitely got some part fleeces. And I might just dig through those and see if anything calls to me as a smaller, either palette cleanser spinning project, even though I've already done a bit of palette cleansing with these ones. But maybe do a smaller spinning project or a longer term fibre prep project, because that fleece and flax has been a fibre prep project up to this point and will be converting itself into a spinning project. But that means that I now have fibre prep not happening, and I apparently like to have projects at every stage going on all at once. So I might have a dig through my fibre stash, and maybe I'll do that and film it for Patreon, because I did it with my yarn stash recently, which is how I decided my two most recent knitting projects. And I might do the same and just sort of see people's opinions on what I should do next, because that could be quite fun. So yes, that is those things. And then the final misc thing to show you, which I've thrown all over the floor. I do not claim to be an artist or illustrator, but I do sometimes like to do a bit of drawing. And in the past in my shop I have had, well, in my online shop, I've had greetings cards and I've just restocked them. So we have greetings cards, they're the same designs as previously. So we've got a sheep. This is one of the flock that provides the wool for my Mendip yarn range. And then a Woodland Ramble and Campfire. And that was up by Loch Lomond, where we went a few years ago. And so they're just kind of nice cozy drawings. I like using pen and ink for quite a sort of vintage children's book illustration style. I think I'll consider doing some in colour, maybe colourising some that I've already done, but I would like to do some more drawing, and I'm hoping that I will have a bit more time for that next year. And so I've also had made some very little art prints of the same drawings. So these are A5 and they come with a cardboard backing so that they don't get bent in the post, and they're in plant-based, cellulose-based compostable bags, just to protect them a bit. And so yes, I just wanted to let you know that I have those there, and gifting season is almost upon us. So if you wanted to treat either yourself or someone else, then that is possibly a way to do so. And yeah, I think I've got everything arrayed around me in little piles, and I'm hoping that's all I was wanting to show you. But yes, I am thoroughly enjoying everything I'm making at the moment, and I am having to curb the desire to just do more and more, because as I said, I don't really have the energy for it alongside like actual having to do the elements of my work that are a bit less fun, and look after a small child. But yeah, I am thoroughly enjoying myself, and it's strange trying to think ahead to projects I might be able to do in a few months' time, but not knowing what life is going to look like then. So I'm being tentative with my plans and not trying to be too ambitious with what I can achieve in any particular timescale. But yes, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you are having a nice autumn if you are in the Northern Hemisphere. Here in the UK, we're having a beautiful autumn. Much rain, much cloud, but the colours on the trees are wonderful. I think we're reaching the end of it here in the southwest. But I'm looking out at the lovely beech tree that is just at the end of my garden. It's a beautiful thing, and I will be sad when it's lost all of its leaves. But there are still quite a few hanging on and emptying themselves into the garden. But yes, have a lovely autumn, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, have a lovely spring. Look forward to those longer days, and I will catch you next time. So bye bye for now.